So, hello. It's been a little while since we made a video. So, what we're going to talk about today is self-taught. Um, this is a subject that sometimes comes up, and often Miyamoto Musashi or Niten-sama, as polite people should refer to him as, is often held up as an example of this self-taught martial artist. Now, I think this is a subject that is broad and broader than just swordsmanship. It also goes to any kind of martial art or any kind of thing that you might do in life, frankly, as well. First of all, when I think about this question, is it better to be self-taught? Is self-mastery possible? Is another way that people might put this question. Well, I think to myself for a start, it's a little bit naive to think that anyone's self-taught in anything. We all have parents, or some sort of parental figure, at least. Everybody needs to be taught how to tie their shoes and to put their clothes on. And there's really, in my opinion, no such thing as self-taught on that kind of level. I think most people tell me, I have only met one or two people in my whole life who have told me counter to this, that I'm quite a good artist. And I guess I've been an artist all my life. Was I self-taught? I used to think I was teaching myself how to be a better artist all the time. I did when I was a kid. And then somewhere along the line I realized no, because I have all these outside influences. I'm constantly looking at things. Those things are teaching me. So from that perspective, I was not a self-taught artist. And I think no one really is from that perspective. Some people feel that it is somehow a weak and a failure to go and have lessons from someone in something. I've met that. I've met people who actually said that they thought it was some sort of sellout, some sort of personal failing to do that. I find that's an interesting mentality. As I said, I think that's rather naive to what is reality. You are learning from other people all the time, even if you don't think you are. So you're really, I think to take that kind of position is right down a rabbit hole, in ego terms. It's right down a rabbit hole, and I wouldn't like to be there. Individuality surfaces, and it can be quite powerful when you're especially if you're a little bit brilliant at something. It can be quite powerful if people tell you it, and you can see it, and quite frankly, when you're brilliant at something, you can quite often see that you're brilliant at something. You quite often see the level of difference between you and someone else. It can be quite a powerful ego trip. Yeah. I knew a fellow. I guess I know a fellow. I don't see him very often, sadly. But I met this fellow probably about 20 years ago. And he had taught himself how to do Musa Jikiden Eishinru Yajutsu from manuals from the school. He had no formal teacher. He'd never been to a dojo and had a lesson in his life. He bought a sword, he bought some books, and he taught himself. Oh, well, he followed the instructions of the books. And I have to say that he was actually very good. Very good to the extent that I would say he was brilliant. And talented as a swordsman. At least in the view that, he followed, he could perform these kata. Now, performing kata is one thing. Being a swordsman is being able to actually engage somebody with a bokto is a whole other thing, etc. Obviously, if you are self-teaching, you're not training with other people, therefore, you don't have that other engagement. Anyway, he was quite brilliant, but he refused to be taught anything. And as a consequence, to my knowledge, he never advanced any further than which he had got. And in fact, I don't think he even, last time I spoke to him, he said, "Oh, I haven't picked up a sword in years." So the whole thing had fallen apart. Waste of talent. A terrible waste of talent. Obvious waste of talent. One of the risks of going down that rabbit hole of I can teach myself something, that eventually it won't be very stimulating to you on your own. So that's a major downside. As to some of the examples around the place that people hold, well, without getting into a Miyamoto Musashi argument, and this sets people off incredibly, I notice over him. Some people are like, idolize him the way that people idolize pop stars, even, he's a cult figure to some people. And many people insist that he's self-taught. And I think this is a good example of where people confuse self-taught with Musa Shugyo. Actually picking something up, a pen, a pencil, a sword, a chess piece, and working out how this works by yourself, and being able to do it would be an extremely, I think that would be an extraordinarily rare person who could do that. And it's quite different to leaving classes or whatever and actually going on Musha Shugyo and testing yourself, testing out what you know, and what you can learn from going to dojo, place to place, and meeting other people in your particular doing your particular thing. And look, we can apply the term Musha Shugyo to anything. It can be going from temple to temple, meeting priests. I meet that occasionally. It can be the martial artist going from dojo to dojo, or it can be an artist, or going from one club to another club. If you're in your hobby or something, meeting different people from your hobby, doing what you're doing. I mean, we could call that Musha Shugyo as well. If your intention is to shape yourself, to test yourself and to round out what you're doing, because that's what happens when you interact with other people in what you're doing. You take on new perspectives. Sometimes you might pick yourself up off the floor and realize, wow, okay, I didn't know what I thought I knew, and that guy did. Or it may be conversation, and this guy has a whole other perspective on what you are doing that you had never thought of yourself. Or the art teacher comes along and says, do you think really that's what it looks like when you're doing the still life? I had an art teacher who pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. She was great. She said, I thought I was hot stuff when I first got into her drawing class. People have been telling me for years I was a genius, an artistic genius. And she came along, looked at my drawing and said, do you really think it looks like that? It was destroying. It was very ego destroying, I can tell you. And you need that. You need that. It challenges you. It makes you mad. And it's good stuff. You go, what the heck are you talking about? And there you have a choice, whether you walk out and you never come back, in which case you don't go forward, I guarantee you. Or you go, what is this person talking about? And what am I missing here that they obviously see that I don't? And actually, she was quite right, because I drew in a very tight, restrictive, technical way. She was quite right, and she taught me how to just free myself and just actually go for the shape of something first, and then fill in the detail, etc. Find the bigger picture, as it were, in my artwork. Find the bigger picture rather than get stuck in the micro detail. She was quite right. No one, So anything is like that. So if you stay in your garage doing by yourself, I think you miss out on that. You miss out on that challenge. How can you say you're really a self-taught expert at something if you've never gone and shared it with anyone? Yeah, I think there's problems with that. You have to take, so what are we talking about? What are you really doing? Are you really perfecting your technique in your garage? Or are you hiding from the possibility of disappointment? Are you hiding yourself from having to open your ears to listening to somebody? Now, I suspect that a lot of people who want to consider themselves self-taught also have problems with their teachers, and especially in high school, at high school age. I suspect that is probably so. I don't have any data on that, but I suspect if there are any educationalists watching this video, they would say that is probably true. That some people are really put off by their educational experiences, and that these things manifest by the time they're in high school age, and at that point they decide they're never stepping back in a classroom again. I would say break that down if you can. I know that in martial arts and many other kinds of arts as well, there is a tendency for us to be individualistic, and as individuals wish to find our own way and not be held into a rigid framework. But in my experience in martial arts, most martial arts do not hold you into that kind of rigid framework. And chances are that if you actually go down to the dojo, where you are located, or move to where a dojo is located, and I would suggest that if that's why you're not there. If you really love a thing, change your life to do it. If you really love a thing, change your life to do it. Yeah? So, I think that's about all I can say on the subject. And, yeah. So, look, if you wish to contact me about learning something from me, feel free to do so, and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, that's my perspective on it. And thank you very much.